Microsoft spent close to $80 billion buying up video game studios, Call of Duty, Fallout, Minecraft, all of it. And this year, the guy running that empire retired, his presumed replacement also quit, and the new CEO's first big move was firing a fifth of the company, $80 billion, and this is where it landed. That's just where Xbox is right now, and if you've owned an Xbox, you've probably felt this weird whiplash all year without really knowing why. Prices go up, then kind of come back down. Games get pulled, then quietly show up again with different rules. For years, Microsoft told you Game Pass was the future of gaming. Now they're walking back the exact stuff that made it feel like the future to begin with. So here's the number that actually explains all this. Back in 2023, during that big court case over the Activision deal, a Microsoft slide got shown as evidence. It said Xbox wanted Game Pass to hit 77 million subscribers by this year. You want to guess where they actually landed? Around 30 million. Less than half of what was expected. And get this, that's actually fewer subscribers than what they had back in 2024. They went backwards. So the one thing Microsoft built its whole gaming plan around missed its own goal by tens of millions of people. And this month, they laid off about a fifth of the entire Xbox division and started selling off studios. So yeah, what happened? Let's go back a bit, because none of this came out of nowhere. Xbox never really won the console fight, not against PlayStation, and honestly not against Nintendo either for a long time. So in 2017, they tried something new. Game Pass. $10 a month, play a huge pile of games instead of buying them one by one. The next year, they went even further and said their own big games would show up on Game Pass the same day they hit stores. Nobody else was doing that. Why pay $70 for a new game when you could play it day one for the price of a fancy coffee? The whole bet was, they didn't need to win the console war anymore. Just get people addicted to the subscription, like Netflix did with TV and Spotify did with music. To back that bet up, Microsoft went on a shopping spree. In 2021, they bought ZeniMax, the company behind games like Doom, Fallout, and Starfield, for over $8 billion. Then in 2023, they closed the Activision Blizzard deal for $68.7 billion, one of the biggest deals in tech history. Just like that, Xbox owned Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Candy Crush, Fallout, basically everything. The idea was simple. More games means more people subscribe. More subscribers means eventually you raise the price and everyone just pays it, because they're already hooked. By the time all that shopping was done, Xbox was sitting on close to 40 studios and reaching around 500 million monthly players across every device you could think of. Looking at it from the outside, they basically built an empire. In practice, an empire that size is expensive to run, and expensive things need to actually make money to be worth keeping around. And for a bit, it kind of worked. The pandemic gave gaming a huge boost, and Game Pass passed 15 million subscribers. But the cracks showed up fast once Microsoft tried using its biggest franchise to grow even faster. When Call of Duty Black Ops 6 landed on Game Pass Day 1 in 2024, it did break sign-up records, but it also cost Microsoft around $300 million in lost sales, because a game that normally sells tens of millions of copies at $70 a pop got handed out for basically the price of a monthly streaming plan. Even Microsoft's own regulatory filings admitted putting games on Game Pass eats into regular sales, but they kept doing it anyway. Which brings us right back to where this video started. In October 2025, before the next Call of Duty dropped, Microsoft bumped Game Pass Ultimate from $19.99 to $29.99. People left in huge numbers. Xbox's own chief strategy officer, Matthew Ball, later admitted the price hike cost them millions of subscribers.
We shed millions of subscribers over the span of a few months. We corrected that offering, pulling a title out, bringing the price down. The price is still higher than it was in the fall, but the value has changed, and it's now resonating with customers.
By this April, they'd dropped the price back to $22.99 and confirmed new Call of Duty games wouldn't launch day one on Game Pass anymore. They'd show up about a year later instead. So the one thing that made Game Pass different from literally every other subscription out there, gone. Less than a year after they raised prices specifically to protect it. Okay, that's the pricing mess. What happened next is honestly the bigger deal. On July 6, Xbox's new CEO, Asher Sharma, put out an internal memo called Resetting Xbox. In it, she confirmed around 3,200 job cuts across the division, 1,600 of them immediate. That's close to a fifth of everyone who works at Xbox. 4 studios got cut loose in the same announcement. Double Fine and Compulsion Games became independent again. Ninja Theory and Undead Labs got handed off to new owners that haven't even been named yet. And a 5th studio, Arcane Leon, got left hanging, with Microsoft basically saying, "We'll figure that one out later." Sharma wasn't shy about why either. She said Xbox's profit margins were running 3 to 10 times lower than other similar businesses. In an interview with Fortune around the same time, she said Xbox was losing 64 cents for every dollar it put into its own studios. Here's the thing about Sharma. She'd only been in the job 5 months when she signed off on all this, and the way she got the job is its own story. Back in February, Phil Spencer, who'd run Xbox for over a decade and worked at Microsoft for 38 years, announced he was retiring. That part, fine, people retire. But right after that, Sarah Bond, the president of Xbox and the person most people inside the industry assumed would take over, also stepped down, all in the same week. Nobody outside Microsoft saw that coming, and Bond had been at Xbox for 8 years, helped run the entire Activision deal, and had recently been talking publicly about Xbox's next console. She wrote in her goodbye note that she decided it was the right time for her next step, which is exactly the kind of sentence executives write when they don't want to say more. So in 1 week, Xbox lost both the guy who ran it for over a decade and the woman everyone expected to replace him, and handed the entire thing to someone from Instacart and Meta who'd been running Microsoft's AI division. And Xbox wasn't even the only ones having a rough month. The same week Spencer and Bond left, Sony announced it was shutting down Bluepoint Games, the studio behind the PS5 remake of Demon's Souls, citing rising development costs and a slower growth environment. About 70 people lost their jobs there. So this isn't purely an Xbox problem, the whole console industry is under pressure right now. And this timing lines up with a completely separate headache that has nothing to do with subscribers at all. Starting August 1st, the Xbox Series X jumps to $799.99. It launched at $499 back in 2020. That's the 3rd console price hike in about 15 months, and it comes down to an AI-driven memory chip shortage pushing up the cost of storage parts across basically every electronics company on Earth. Microsoft said it themselves in the announcement. Memory costs have already gone up 2.5 times in the last year, and they expect them to double again by 2027. It's not just Xbox either. Apple raised prices the same week for the same reason, and Sony, Nintendo, and Valve have all done some version of this in 2026. But Xbox is dealing with that hardware pain at the exact same time it's admitting its whole subscription bet came up tens of millions of subscribers short. Now, to be fair, there's a version of this that's actually kind of honest. Sharma's memo talks about cutting management layers from 14 down to 5, and focusing spending on fewer, bigger games instead of spreading it thin across around 40 studios. A 3% profit margin at this size just wasn't going to hold up forever. Somebody had to say that out loud eventually, and she did. Now, none of this means Xbox is going anywhere. Around 80% of the division's money still reportedly comes from the console itself, not Game Pass, not cloud gaming, the same box people are now paying $799.99 for. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this video. See you in the next one.